Hey everybody, yesterday, Sunday, I answered some questions online. I got a lot of questions. Thanks by the way, for making these questions short and sweet. I appreciate it. I try to get to everybody. My big thing is just being accessible. If I can help in any way, I'm more than happy to do so. So, I got one question in particular that was really, really good. Um, Her name was Miss Young. I asked her if it was okay if I did a video on it instead of uh, actually writing out a response because it was a really good one, and I think it's something that I think if I offer a solution, hopefully it'll help a lot of people. So I'm going to read the question for you real quick. The question is, what exactly is closure in the context of romantic relationships? How does one get closure from their significant other? How does one give closure to someone seeking it? Is it possible to get closure independently without needing to rely on the ex? If so, how so? So, all of these questions are really good. This four questions in one is really good. And I want to start off with what closure is. Closure, to me, is the why it ended. And it's needed because we invest so much in relationships. We put so much into it. If you think about it from a physical perspective or standpoint, it's like putting your arm or your leg into something. And sometimes people put their whole body into something and really hope for the best and hope that they don't get hurt and hope that they have that other part of them around for a long time. So when a relationship doesn't work, it's almost like watching parts of you being taken away, if you look at it from a physical perspective. So when that relationship ends, the least you want to know is why, so that when you move forward, hopefully you don't risk doing the same thing again. You know, going through the process of healing and repairing, and then watching someone else walk away with so much of you again. So I do think that closure is important because you want to know why. You want to know so that it doesn't happen again. Relationships, I always say, are a big risk. If you're not ready to hurt, you're not ready to love. Closure is really important. So, how do we get it from someone else? When it comes to closure, what you have to have in the other person is someone who is willing to be honest. And that's not always something that's so easy to find. Is that person going to give you the real reasons? A lot of times people will give reasons and what I call them pseudo compassionate excuses. They'll give you answers that are not going to get them in a whole lot of trouble. And a lot of times they're very superficial, and a lot of times they're very legitimate. Um, Sometimes giving you that answer may put them in a compromising position. And of course, that's the reason why we lie, to protect ourselves. So you may get some of the truth, and in some rare instances, you may get all of the truth. But closure is important. So in the case of that person giving you the whole truth, then you know whether it's something that you can actually work on moving forward, or if it's something that you even need to work on moving forward. And that's how it can benefit you. But if the person is giving you, lies to cover themselves, then it's not going to benefit you at all. And you pretty much are going to know whether that person is telling the truth or not because you can feel it. You can feel it when it's just an excuse. But the key thing is to accept the truth. A lot of people have a hard time accepting the truth just because it doesn't sound right to them. If that person tells you the reason why they're breaking up with you, don't try to push something more out of them that's not there. Just accept what they're giving you. Maybe it's the truth, maybe it's not. Maybe that person just wasn't for you. But be mindful of what a person is giving you, and what is that person's track record? Is that person's track record one of honesty, or just telling people what they want to hear? So it's important, but it's really important when you can actually get an honest answer out of that person. Then you can close the book on that relationship. But remember, just because you get the answer doesn't mean that the feelings are going to go away or that your desire to be with that person is going to go away. Um, it just means that you got your answer, and now that you're aware of the answer, you have two options: either you do something about it or you don't. But something is going to happen. Moving on. And the next question was, can you? How do you give closure. And again, it's the same thing. Being honest with that person is very difficult to do. If my thing is, if you're going to have someone invest so much in you and you're going to invest in that person, at least give that person some honesty when the relationship is over. That's the least that you can do. If you really care about somebody, but you realize that you can't see yourself with them moving forward in the future, at least make a point. Give that person at least some honesty so that they don't have to go through the same situation again if they choose to take it. A lot of people don't choose to take it. That's on them. All you can do is give it to them. There's a lot of people who could have been married a long time ago and had successful relationships or marriages, but they just did not listen to the one thing, or really pay attention to their responsibility in the failures of their relationships. It's always the other person's fault. Take responsibility for your part. Not the blame, because you may not be to blame at all, but take responsibility for where you may have made some missteps and correct those in the future. And sometimes that misstep is just in the type of people that you choose. All right. And what was the last question? Is it possible to get closure independently without someone to rely on or relying on an ex? Absolutely. And I would suggest that because when we're asking someone to give us the truth, we're asking that person to be selfless. And in a lot of cases, when it comes to breakups, you're not really going to get selflessness out of that person. And you're asking that person to kind of make themselves vulnerable enough to give you the truth, because it may not be comfortable for them. So closure should be something that you're able to give yourself. For this main reason, if you're depending on someone else to give you closure to move on, that means that you're depending on that person to move on. When that person breaks up with you, they're not really, a lot of times, not thinking about you moving on. They're more concentrated and concerned on themselves moving on. So if you're depending on me to give you something to move on when you're an afterthought, you're really putting yourself in a bad position. You're putting yourself in a position to stay stagnant for years. I mean, there are people who stay stagnant for 10, 20 years while their exes have moved on, had children, built financial portfolios and everything, and they're still stuck there wondering why their relationship didn't work. It's in the past. Give yourself closure. Be able to give yourself closure if you can't give it to the other person. And again, the way to do that is to really take a self-assessment, take an assessment of that relationship and find out what you can take responsibility for. Again, not blame, responsibility. The difference is responsibility is something that you can own, you can take some control over. So your only responsibility in a relationship failing can be that you chose the wrong person or that you are continuously choosing the wrong people. So now ask yourself the question, why am I continuously choosing this type of person? Dig into your own person, dig into yourself and find out why are you consecutively, why is your pattern like this? And then once you fix that pattern, you move on and you can find yourself in a completely different kind of relationship and a successful relationship. So that's how you give yourself closure. And then, I'll tell you this, sometimes you got to give yourself your own version of reality. As some of you know, I was given up for adoption before I was even born. And so for a long time, that hurt me in the area of relationships because when I found out I was adopted, I felt a lot of rejection. I felt abandoned. I felt like I wasn't worth being kept around. My biological mother could have had all the best intentions in the world, but these are the feelings that I had associated to the event of me being put up for adoption before I was even born. I kind of had this idea of, you're not going to give a $5 bill away because it's worth something to you. So why would you give a baby away? This was my, rationale for it. I wasn't able to find my parents, or my biological parents. So I had to come up with my own version of the reality in order to bring closure to myself. And what I thought of was, what was it like for this woman to carry a baby for 9 months? and to give birth to that child, knowing that she was giving that child away. She gave me the opportunity to live. She could have did anything. I mean, she could have aborted, but she carried me, and the toll that this had to take on her body for 9 months, mentally, emotionally, and I'm sure that it probably still takes a toll on her today. So to think about all the things that she went through really changed my perspective um, of those events and gave me closure. And so now, because of that, I can be in a successful and healthy relationship because I had to deal with the original relationship what I had with the first woman of my life who I'd never met. You see, so sometimes we have to, really create our own reality in order to establish closure. It's all about being able to have healthy relationships moving forward. Okay, so yes, closure is very important, but in the end, it has to be something that we can be mature enough to give to ourselves. I hope this helps somebody. Uh, you can check out my website, JEREMEFORD.com, and make sure that you keep the events in mind because I will be putting more events up. And by the way, Atlanta, we're going to do an event February the 12th or the 11th, I believe, whatever that Wednesday is. So look out for that. And yeah, again, make sure you get the books. New book coming. And I'll try to make a video for you all soon. Anyways, until next time, keep sharing and liking and talking and whatever, supporting. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I wish you all the best. All right? Hotel.